Hey everyone, good afternoon. My name is Caitlin Blanco Silva and I'm the CEO of the Palmetto Employee Assistance Program. Thank you all so much for attending our quarterly webinar series that Palmetto EAP is hosting, giving you guys some great ideas and tips for getting through the pandemic, for accessing the resources that we provide to you, for all different kinds of information. And this series today, we have Mark Milstead from Assisted Living Locators, and he has a franchise in the upstate. And I brought him in so that he can tell you guys how we work together with Assisted Living Locators to help give employees elder care resources, which is a great benefit that EAPs can use so that people can stay productive in the workplace knowing that their parent or their family member is safe and happy. So without any further ado, I will turn it over to Mark and let you get started. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Well, thank you for having me. It's my pleasure anytime I get the opportunity to explain to people a little bit more about what we do and how we do it. It really is a pleasure because frankly, many people don't know that this service exists. We're a free service to families across the upstate, actually across the United States, because we are a franchise. We're in 40 different states and we have 140 offices. So that gives us the opportunity to help families across the United States. If they have a family member, and I'm just going to say in Michigan, that needs to move to Greenville, we can help assist with that, or vice versa. If somebody is in Greenville and they need to move to Michigan, we can also assist with that because we have offices in both locations. So the franchise here in the upstate of South Carolina is owned by my wife and I. My wife, Renee, and I started this franchise a little over 2 years ago. We moved here specifically to do this. So we have really been enjoying the work that we're doing here and being able to help people in the upstate of South Carolina. So Assisted Living Locators is much older than the Greenville franchise. It was founded in 2003 by a registered nurse in Phoenix, Arizona. And we're a no cost to families referral agency. So we're really the people that will do the hard work for people and the heavy lifting and the research that they need to do for finding the best place for a parent or a loved one. So there's many different types of senior care, and that's probably one of the first things that we have to explain to people. The big term here is nursing home. Everybody thinks that a loved one is going into a nursing home, but that's not necessarily the truth. There's many different types of care. We provide short and long care options, and we also refer to companies if it's not something that we actually handle. So we work with assisted living homes, we work with independent living communities, memory care communities, as well as 55 and over senior communities, just senior apartments. We help when you have a loved one in the hospital or in rehab and they have an emergency discharge situation. You don't know where you need to send them. That's where we come in. You can make one phone call, and we've been in all the communities, so we know the differences and what they offer. We're your first step in your search, and we help people with the 4-step process. We do an in-depth needs assessment So we try and talk to the families, talk to the seniors, and find out what their financial situation is and what they need as far as care. And then we also look at the geographical situation for them and their family members and try and fit all of those together so that they get the right recommendation the first time. We always like to give people several choices. So it's rare that we would come back and say, okay, this is the right place for you. What we like to do is give several recommendations and let you do the video tours. And then we would come back and say, which ones of those do you like? And from there, we would set up in-person tours and help facilitate not just a move to a community, but also negotiating the terms of that move and actually how that move is going to progress if they need to be transported from a hospital or a rehab center. So why do you need us? That's a good question. I personally had this experience several years ago. And when somebody comes to you, what happened to us is it was a social worker in a rehab came to us and said, your mother-in-law's insurance is going to run out. You have 3 days to find a place for her. And it just so happened they told us that on a Friday. So that didn't leave us much time to find the right place for her. So we've already done all of the research. You don't have to start from square one, doing the research, finding pricing, finding, what the differences are in the communities. We've already done all of that legwork, and our job is to educate you on the differences. And then at that point, give you the ability to make good decisions so that you're not moving somebody around from place to place. How do you pay for senior living? This is a question that comes up every time I talk to somebody. It's really private pay if you're going to go into an assisted living or a memory care or an independent living community. If some seniors have long-term care insurance, I don't see a lot of that here in the upstate, but there are some people that have long-term care policies. Those are awesome if you have them. If you don't have them, they're very expensive to start at this point. But I know there are some agents that are dealing with long-term care insurance, and it's just a awesome thing to have if you can afford it, and if your agent will help you figure that one out, because there's a lot of different types. If you're a veteran, there's VA aid and attendance. That's a huge benefit that most veterans don't know even exist. Currently, that's around $1,800 for an honorably discharged veteran, and it's $1,200 for a surviving spouse. So it's a really good benefit. It goes on top of your monthly income that you already receive if you're receiving Social Security or a pension. That adds right on the top of that to help you save some of your own money. Medicaid will pay for skilled nursing, long-term skilled nursing, but there are some caveats to that that you really need to discuss with a particular skilled nursing communities. We are more than happy to direct you to good skilled nursing, but skilled nursing is a little bit different in that they have some restrictions when it's paid for by Medicaid. Medicare will not pay for any long-term care. It doesn't matter if it's independent, assisted, or memory care. That's something that Medicare just doesn't pay for. So don't expect that to be part of your Medicare plan. How do we get paid? So we're a no cost to families service, and we pride ourselves on that. We don't want to put any undue stress on families that are trying to move a loved one. So we don't take any money from the families. We never will, never have. What we do is we get a finder's fee from the communities if you move in. And that's kind of across the board. All of the communities that we work with pay us a percentage of the first month's rent. And that's no more than just a marketing expense for the communities. The exception to that is skilled nursing. They don't pay, and that's because many of them are affiliated with government programs. We won't take payment from anything that's a government program. We want to try and keep that separate from private pay. So that's something that we just don't get involved with. Why is this important to HR? 61% of the family caregivers of adults age 50 and over are currently employed. That's a huge percentage of our workforce that is dealing with family members that are moving into some kind of care level for a loved one. 42% of US workers have provided care for an aging relative or friend in the past 5 years. So I know personally a number of people that have done this. It's not an easy task. You end up with a lot of time off of work trying to fulfill those obligations, and it's not good for your productivity at work, and it's not good for your home life because all of those get compressed when you're trying to care for a loved one at home. 49% of the workforce expects to be providing elder care in the coming 5 years. I fall into that category. I think many of us probably do fall into that category. It seems like once you reach the age of around 45 to 50, your parents are approaching that time where they're going to need some kind of care. How is this affecting the workforce? 1 in 5 retirees left the workforce earlier than planned because of having to care for an ill spouse or other family member. That is what stuck out to me early on, is that people that are very productive, they've been in their jobs for a long time, they know their jobs, they're skilled at what they're doing, are being forced to either retire or cut back on their working schedule because of this. And that's why it's very important that there is some kind of an EAP program in place to help families navigate this arena. That doesn't mean that there's not going to be any time or expense that goes along with it. It just means that we can lessen that load for your employees so they can be more productive at work. 68% of caregivers report being forced to make work accommodations to care for seniors. We see this all the time. It's unfortunate, but it's true. And it's really unfortunate that the majority of this falls on an eldest daughter, usually. That's not to say that it doesn't fall on anybody else, but that's what we see in our industry is an elder daughter tends to be the one that is responsible for care for aging adults. Things to keep in mind when referring, it's best to get permission for me to call a client rather than the client calling me. The reason for that is they've already got enough on their plate. You know, they're either dealing with a senior that's in the hospital or in rehab. They're already stressed. And so what we like to do is take as much stress off of them as we possibly can. So instead of giving them one more task to do, what we ask is, please just give me their information. I'll call them. I'll keep calling them until I get a response, or I'll email them so that we can work our schedule around their schedule. If they can talk to me before they start the process, many times it's going to save them many hours. And quite frankly, it's going to save them quite a bit of money, because if you make the wrong decision, it's very time consuming and expensive to move an adult after you've moved somebody into a community. So again, this is Renee and I. This is our franchise here in the upstate. And if anybody has any questions, they want more information, we'd be more than happy to talk to you, talk to your employees. We're not selling anything. We provide a service. And what's nice about that is it's a service that's free to the families, and it's also a service that you can provide to your employees that is a no-cost service to the employer as well. So it's really a win-win for everybody.
Thank you so much, Mark. And I want to kind of piggyback off a couple things that you've talked about. One of the things is this, what we do at Palmetto EAP is we consider our referrals concierge. In that, we are making sure that we're asking the right questions and making sure that we are pairing people with the right services. Just as you said, we want to do that kind of work up front to make sure that we're connecting people as quickly and as directly as possible. And it really sounds like, and I know from experience with having made referrals to you and to your colleagues around the state, that you definitely go above and beyond to really understand a family situation and to really make sure that you can help navigate them through the waters of getting a parent or a family member to the right kind of care. All right, we have one question. My parents are in Texas. Are you able to assist nationwide, or would it be a franchise closer to their home state?
So what we would do is, if you are facilitating the search, we would sit down with you. We would see what your needs are. We would take the basic information, and we can electronically pass that information to our franchise in Texas. I think we have 7 franchises in Texas. Texas is a pretty large state. So then we would electronically transfer the information to them and let that franchisee give us the recommendations of the best communities in that area. That way, we're using somebody that's been in the communities. They know the people working there. They know how the communities work. If you try and look online, there's a lot of bogus information. So we like to recommend communities that we actually know and we work with on a daily basis.
That's something that I relate to very much, because when I work with, most of my career has been in substance treatment. And when I go online, and if you've ever tried to Google substance treatment, a long list of not very safe places are probably the first couple pages on that Google search. And I liken it to, I think, being that person trying to find elder care I think it's that way as well. Is that kind of how it is? Like if you're just to Google assisted living, like all
So,
kinds of stuff comes up.
so we have the same problem in our area, but it's a little deeper than that. If you search for, say, there's a community down the street. If you search for that community, a website will pop up, but it doesn't necessarily belong to that community. Seniors are very vulnerable, and there are companies out there that take advantage of them by exchanging information with them without their knowledge. So if they are searching for the community down the street, they can type in the name of that community, and actually it's a different company that has a mirror of that community's site. And it's strictly there to collect information and broadcast it out across the web.
I find exactly the same issues happening in substance as well because of the vulnerability of the population. And this is why it's important for Palmetto EAP to have a resource and a safe patient navigator for our employees. I've got a few comments in the question, the Q&A. This is from Marcia. This is the service most families don't realize they need, or don't realize it until it's far into dementia/Alzheimer's. It would be overwhelming were it not for services like this and individuals like Mark and Renee. Know that your family members can actually thrive in the right environment that meets their specialized needs.
So,
very well said.
I recognize that name. Marcia Myers asked or made a couple of comments, and that is Marcia's dad. He is one of our clients that we've worked with. We actually worked very closely with Marcia and with her family to help him find the right place. This picture was actually taken during COVID, when they wouldn't allow seniors out of the communities at all. There was no visitation other than a window visit, and they couldn't come out. And it just so happened that this young guy here turned 97 during that time. And so we made arrangements for him to get outside of the community and go for a little truck ride in my wife's truck. So we don't stop when somebody moves into a community. We keep in touch with them. These seniors are very important to us on many different levels. And we prefer to know exactly what the situation is, not just with them leading up into moving into a community, but also once they've moved in, we want to make sure that it's the right community for them and the right fit, and that it works for the family. So that is, I'm not going to name him, but he's a really special guy to all of us. And he has been for a couple of years.
That's wonderful. It's a beautiful truck. And she said, look at that cute fella. Absolutely. And this is, again, why I love assisted living locators, because you guys are really like family, you know?
Yeah. It's interesting that Marcia is on this call because she's probably my furthest client from my area that I work with, but she's on this call today, and staying in touch with that family is actually a blessing for us, because we like to know how the seniors are doing, not just today, but what they're going through, what they're coming up against. With family situations change all the time, and we like to help with those changes as well.
Absolutely.
Marcia has a lot of experience with how we do things and why we do things. We actually helped move her dad into a community that was in my opinion, ridiculously far from his home, but it was the best community available. And through some corporate changes, that community started struggling with care, and we were forced to move him again to a community with quality care, and it actually happened to be much closer to home. So that's just transpired recently.
It has, and I think that's a really important point too for everybody. If we didn't feel as strongly as we do about Mark and Renee and this organization, we certainly wouldn't have gone back to them a second time. So I really want to drive that point home. That says a lot about who they are as people. And I think you both kind of mentioned that you do become like family, because it can be very stressful at times. It's certainly stressful for the family, and it's so nice to know that there's somebody there that can take some of that stress off, so that you can just try and meet the needs of your family and know that the other parts are being taken care of. And certainly this year was very challenging. And Mark doesn't give he and Renee enough credit, but just to be clear, Mark organized that birthday situation for my dad during COVID. So when we talk about being family, it's just above and beyond. So I just want people to know what a fantastic resource that is, even when these are very stressful times, or if you don't know a lot about dementia or Alzheimer's, my family certainly didn't. They're just such a great resource. I can't stress that enough.
So I guess I'll piggyback on top of that. Mark and Renee are not anything unique to assisted living locators. I talk to my fellow franchisees in North and South Carolina on a regular basis. In fact, we had a 2-hour call today, a Zoom call, and every franchise in the Carolinas has that same drive and same compassion for their seniors. And that's something that you'll see no matter if you're in the upstate or Charleston or Rock Hill, it doesn't matter. You're gonna find that assisted living locators will go the extra mile. They don't want to just find you a place. They want to be a resource for whatever you're going through.
Only those who participate in Palmetto EAP participate in your services.
So no, we are a free service to people across the state, actually across the United States. What is unique about the approach that Palmetto has is they're bringing this to the workforce so that it is an offering through your HR department. So it kind of brings connectivity to the whole idea that families are dealing with this, and it's companies that are progressive and trying to protect their good workers, their employees, and make life better for them, that they're seeking out programs like this. And Palmetto is one of the companies that's providing that for companies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what we want to make sure that people can, that we can offer that service and that warm handoff when people are unable, because I know what it feels like to search and wonder and have questions and fear. You know, it's funny you bring up a lot of this. You brought up 40, 45, and I just turned 41, and my sister's 43. You know, so we're kind of, I don't know if you can see the red tints in my hair, but my mother is a redhead and just doesn't like not being the mother and not understanding that we're getting down to that time where, you know, me and my sister are going to be her guides. What do you guys do for sort of that mediation? I know it's hard for me to go to my mom and say, listen, you know, this 2-story house for dad is getting it's getting to be too much. This 4-bedroom home. What do you guys help with that conversation? And when should my sister and I engage, or when is the time that we need to know that we got to reach out?
So I would say it's never too soon. Many times you can tell a parent your opinion, but it doesn't mean as much as it does coming from somebody outside the family that works in the industry. So we love it when families call us before they need us and say, hey, we're noticing a little decline. What would you recommend? Because our first recommendation would not be, let's move them out of their house and into a community, because that's not what they want. Our first recommendation would be, let's see where they need help. Let's see if there's something that we can get for them. Quite often, I recommend a respite voucher that's through the Appalachian Council of Governments. And it gives you money to pay for in-home care. And it's free. And a lot of times that's where I like to start, because it doesn't upset anybody. It's a free service. And then the seniors get to see, wow, there is something here. This isn't so bad, having somebody make dinner for me or wash my clothes or take me to a doctor's appointment. So a lot of, I prefer to start like that, where it's not pulling them out of what they love and what they're comfortable with, but it's adding to help make their life better. And at a given point, the only way to make their life better is to actually help them find the right community. And we help with that as well.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I got another question in the chat. You said you don't get involved with government funded organizations. My mom is in a facility in a Medicaid bed. How would you get paid if we had to move her to a different facility?
We don't. We don't get paid for anything that's Medicaid, but we don't refuse those clients either. Those clients are just as important as somebody that's paying to be in assisted living. And we work with them just the same way we do with assisted living. Unfortunately, because Medicaid is a government program, we don't get paid at all for that. It's kind of a donation of our time and efforts just to try and help the family make the right decisions.
Awesome. Again, another great reason that we've connected with you guys. Have been an awesome service and one of my top services that I tout. This comment from Bill: Mark and Renee are also great resources for the care of senior adults in the community. They also can provide recommendations for other services above and beyond assisted living. They have a strong, reliable network.
So that's
and I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, I definitely, if I don't have the answer or the resource, and we all have something that we're really good at, and then we have something that we know just enough about to be dangerous. And it's those situations where I like to refer to other people in the senior industry. And Bill is actually one of those that I refer to on a regular basis. There are certain groups within senior care that you can just tell they have a heart for the seniors. They want to find the best possible solution for a senior in whatever situation they're in. And so we partner with companies like Bill's in helping them find the right care for whatever their situation is.
That was a great tip that you gave when I asked the question about getting younger or getting started, when to get started. Are there anything, say, for preparing for that time when we are taking care of our parents? Are there types of other insurances? You did mention one insurance that seemed to be kind of costly. Are there any other insurances or savings that we should be preparing for? Would you advise?
So one of the things that I recommend to almost every family that I talk to is that they speak to an elder law attorney. Unfortunately, many families believe that everything is all set. We've prepared. Mom and dad know what they need. They've taken the steps to get everything in order, and that's true. They've worked their entire life and prepared for retirement, and then they've prepared for their funeral expenses and things like that. There's this little area in between that might be 5 years, might be 25 years, where they're retired, but they need extra care. And that's the area that we want to help people navigate and prepare correctly for. And part of that is talking to an elder law attorney to have the right power of attorneys in place. So when your parents get to the point where they can't make decisions for themselves, that's already taken care of. Because if somebody gets into a situation where I'll just say they either have a car accident or they take a really nasty fall or they have a debilitating illness and they can't make a decision for themselves, the children are surprised that they can't help take care of them in that situation. And it really comes down to power of attorney or, protecting assets is as simple as having a trust. So I always recommend talking to a good elder law attorney. That's one of the first things that I recommend. And especially if you're not in a situation where you're having to move immediately, if you've got a little bit of time, it's early on, those are great discussions to have with a senior to say, are you really prepared for what is inevitably coming next? And I just looking at the list of people on this call, there are several people on this call that know exactly what I'm talking about because I see an elder law attorney, the person that works in the office that I refer to on a regular basis in the list. I see somebody that just went through this with their dad. And, I can't stress enough how important it is to prepare early. That's why I like it that Palmetto is adding this on as a service to their clients, because I'm hoping that will give us the opportunity to speak to employees before they get to that situation and give them a leg up on preparing for some of these things that inevitably they're going to have to go through.
Mm-hmm. One of the Low Country franchisees says what happens is when the parent takes a nasty fall and is in the hospital, and the doctors sometimes will say they're not going to be safe to go back to their living environment, and they're discharging in 24 hours, or there's a certain limit time that the doctor's saying you got to get something set up. That kind of was the thing that sort of shocked me into going, I better call my parents, So I was like, well, I've got another comment. I've got a couple things in the QA. Let's see. Just want to thank you. A much needed service and most appreciated. You've given me a tool to help seniors, and I know both on the job and personally. Mark, you and I can get together about that connection to the elder care attorneys. I was actually same person who commented. I'm actually thinking of that at the back of my head. I would like to know who that attorney is, and so we can certainly share that. And even as I was advertising this, it really started to get in my head that I need to have you come to some of our larger companies and do training to employees, which are also, I think, available for that too. And as we move to the Midlands, we have our contact in the Midlands, and as we move to the coast, we have our coastal contact as well. So yeah, so we'll definitely, I think the employees are the next people we need to do this for, to help them know. Let's see, Burroughs Elijah Attorneys it was put in the chat, so if we can make that recording for those folks who would like to see that. Are there any other questions or comments? All right. Well, thank you guys so much. Mark, I really appreciate what you and Renee do for our employees. I think it is such an honored service and such a needed service. And it's certainly brought a lot to the table and given, and I will say, you know, there's not many vendors. We don't sort of have this big list as EAP of all these different things that we offer. And part of the reason for that is because we find vendors that we know are doing the right thing and we know have the same values and integrity that Palmetto EAP tries to embody. And that is really being a caring individual who is in the field to because they're passionate about the population. And we know that you guys are like I said, you, our Midlands franchise and our coastal franchise are all the people who are there to help guide other people through a very tricky process. And so we're grateful for this service. And again, when we give a service, we make sure that it's quality, and you guys have definitely exemplified that. So we're very grateful for the service that you do.
Well, we are very grateful for this opportunity to be a part of some HR programs that will help employees be a better employee. In the long run, it really is it's about the employees having the time to do what they're supposed to be doing at work and not neglecting a senior at home at the same time. So if we can fill that gap a little bit and help them stay productive and at the same time help the seniors get the care that they need, that's what it's all about for us.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Mark. And thank you to all the participants and the questions and the comments. And one more good comment from Marcia. Thank you all. Our family is grateful. And that says it all. And to access the service, if you're with Palmetto EAP, just give us a call and we'll make that warm handoff connection. It's not something you can kind of push the button. We want to make sure that, again, like you said, Mark, that you get in touch with our employees and take that burden off of them. So thank you again to everyone. And I hope you all have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us.